Hey guys, what's up? You know how everybody's always recommending you the same JRPGs over and over again? For the past few years, everybody's been recommending the same games, and we all already know that. I mean, we've already played it. Most of us have already played those games, and we know how great they are. The Chrono titles, every Final Fantasy title, the Persona games, some of the Tales of series, and a big long etc. Yeah, the Dragon Quest series. We already know that, thanks to all those great YouTubers who recommended those great RPGs to us over the past 10 years or so. But I feel like there's a bunch of other games that are for everybody, that are great games that I think everybody should play because everybody would enjoy. And they need attention, they need your attention. And well, some of my favorite JRPGs can't be on this list because even though I love them with a passion, I don't think they're games for everybody. I mean, they're just some games out there are just not for everybody. We all know that. But today I gathered 10 games that I really gave them some thought and I said, these are games that could be played by pretty much anybody. You know, they're not that hard, they're not that easy, they have a decent challenge, balanced gameplay, friendly gameplay, great stories, great JRPGs. These are perfect candidates and I rarely see people talking about them, so I decided to take up the job myself. Maybe some other people have talked about it. I have recommended most of these games in my channel quite a few times already, but I think it's time everybody knows that these are RPGs just as good as some of the classics. Well, let's begin. Let's begin with another Super Nintendo classic, sort of like a forgotten hidden gem that should never have turned into a forgotten hidden gem. I think it's a great game. Maybe I will dare to say to call it a masterpiece. And that is Luffy 2 for the Super Nintendo. And well, that game is also a classic, but only people who are really into RPGs, specifically JRPGs, know about it. I can't believe it. I mean, this game could very easily walk along the same path as the kings like Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy 4 and 6, Super Mario RPG, and I never see people recommending this game. They're never telling you this is a game, this is an RPG that should be played by anybody. Yeah, sure, we all know the classics like Secret of Mana as well, but what about Luffy 2? I know, I am aware the Luffy series never really made a name for themselves. I mean, most of the titles in that small franchise, that's already dead by the way, are not exactly great JRPGs. I mean, the first Luffy is okay, but it has a lot of problems. The other Luffy's are spin-offs. There was a remake of this game I'm talking about for the Nintendo DS, but kind of failed. So okay, but if there's one great game in that franchise, one masterpiece I dare say, that is Luffy 2, Rise of the Sinistrals. And no, you don't need to play the first Luffy because this game, Luffy 2, is actually the prequel. This is in chronologically speaking, this is the first Luffy ever, so this is a game you have to play, you can't miss, and it's not that hard, it's not that easy, challenge is balanced, characters are great, story is great, music is great, everything in this game is great, so I think Luffy 2 is a game that everybody should play. My number 9 is a game of the Fire Emblem series. You know how everybody's always recommending you the Fire Emblem titles for the 3DS, Awakening, Fates, even though it's not that good, even Echoes, which in my opinion is starting to be underrated, and maybe it should be on this list, but I just don't think Echoes is a game for everybody. Instead, I'm recommending you the Sacred Stones. This game, my friends, is awesome. And why I'm recommending this and not the others? Well, there's a catch. I could recommend you, I don't know, the GameCube or the Wii titles, but those titles are really expensive, especially the GameCube title, which is my favorite Fire Emblem ever. And also other titles are, I think they're not too hard, but hard nonetheless, and that might turn a lot of people down. But I think that's the balance, the challenge, it's very balanced in the Sacred Stones, and that's the reason why I think it's the perfect entry for people to get into the Fire Emblem series. The Sacred Stones is sort of like an easy game. It's one of the easiest in the series, but that doesn't make it an easy game. It's just easy compared to most of the other titles. And yeah, maybe the 3DS titles are easier than this, but everybody's always recommending those titles. I remember back in the day, over 10 years ago, most people were recommending the Sacred Stones, and As soon as the 3DS titles came out, people forgot about it, and I think if you want something kinda retro from the Game Boy Advance era, the Sacred Stones might be the perfect opportunity for you to get into the Fire Emblem franchise. This is a great game, a game that everybody must play. And the price? Well, obviously complete in box is a little expensive, it goes around for $75. Maybe that's not a possibility for anybody, but the Soul cartridge, I think that's about $30 or less, so that's a reasonable price. Okay, next is a Tales of game. Yeah, everybody's always recommending you certain Tales of titles, the classics like Fantasia, Destiny, Eternia, or maybe the newer titles like Xillia, like Berseria, or the classics like Symphonia, or even Vesperia. Yeah, the Tales of is pretty famous nowadays. There's no reason to recommend any of its titles. But if there's one title that it's a little underrated in my opinion that I recently finished on the PS Vita, is Tales of Hearts. Okay, that game is a remake of the Nintendo DS version that never came out of Japan. I played that game a long time ago with an English patch made by fans, and well, my copy, well, not exactly my copy, I mean, you have to emulate that game, and I played it, and I never got past the first hours of the game because the file wouldn't work properly. So I never played it again until finally a couple of months ago when I started on the PS Vita, and I recently finished that game. I beat it and it was awesome, yes, and maybe the story and characters are not that great, complex and deep as in any other titles of the series like Berseria or Xillia, for example, which everybody is always recommending. But the story is okay, they're okay nonetheless. This is a game that could be easily played by anybody. It's a great entry to the series. It has a great battle system. Some of the Tales of are known for having slightly complicated action battle systems. They're not just your everyday button mashing systems. In Tales of Hearts, yes, there's a lot of button mashing involved, but there are also some technicalities involved, but nothing that complicated. Everybody could understand that, so I think Tales of Hearts, it's a great game. It's an underrated game, and I think everybody should play it because it's awesome, and also because I believe it's, like I said, sort of like a good entry to the Tales of series. I think if you guys start with something very retro like the Destiny games, or Fantasia, the first Tales of, or maybe Berseria, which has a dark story, or maybe Xillia, which it's a little harder than you think. I think Hearts is just perfect. The challenge is there, balance. It's a great game. Play it. Next on the list is another great classic. This is starting to get underrated as well. It's starting to become a hidden gem, and we can't allow that because this is the best game in the Phantasy Star franchise, and that is the overall masterpiece classic Phantasy Star 4 End of the Millennium. This masterpiece, this is a game everybody must play. Another game with great balance, with a good challenge, some difficulty spikes over here and there, but nothing you can't overcome. I think even the average gamer will enjoy this game because it's so good. It competes, in my opinion, this is on par with great classics like Chrono Trigger or Secret of Mana, and I can't believe just because the series is no longer releasing games over outside Japan, I don't think people should forget about this game because it's so goddamn good. It's a turn-based RPG. It's not an action RPG like anything that happened post this game. After this game, Phantasy Star series became action RPGs, all of them. And I always thought that this particular game was just so good, so open to everybody. The music is excellent. The world they built for this game is just so good. The mechanics are friendly, very well explained, better than in the previous titles in the series. So Phantasy Star 4, I can't believe people are starting to forget about this game. This is a really historically important RPG, and you should play. Next on the list. Well, next on the list are games that I don't have yet. But that's because I recently started playing them. I recently started playing the first one. And this is a surprise, especially to my subscribers. Yes, I finally played The Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel. Oh yeah. And I'm loving it. I'm loving it. This is the only game in the list that I really gave some thought because I thought that the high school simulator setting will turn people away. I know, I am aware, and I am included in that statement. I am aware that a lot of gamers are starting to get tired of these high school simulators. I mean, RP gamers in particular. There's just a lot of games that try to emulate Persona, which was extremely successful, and it is extremely successful nowadays. So this is yet another Persona clone. You might consider it that way, but there's just so much about this game that I can't believe how good it is. You know, the second I started playing this game, I didn't have any clue. I mean, I expected this game to be your everyday average high school simulator RPG, and I had zero expectations. But when I finally played it, wow, it surprised me. I mean, the battle system is just fantastic. Yes, there's a lot of high school simulator and a lot of stereotypes, a lot of anime tropes, and a lot of people are not going to like that. But if you can give this game a chance, I mean, if people have recommended the Persona games to you, you're probably gonna love this game. I mean, out of all the Persona clones out there, this one might be just the best. Falcom, the company who made these games, a very, very historically important company in the history of JRPGs, Falcom made this game. They also made the Ys series, but everybody recommends the Ys series already, especially Ys 8, Lacrimosa of Dana. Everybody, I thought about recommending the Ys games as well in this video, but I think they're starting to get more attention, and their Trails series are just something that should be on par with the Ys series. Everybody should be recommending them because these are games that are like I said, balanced, challenged. There's a good story, there's a great script in these games. Even with all the cliches and stereotypes, there's a great script behind it. The characters are great. The battle system is something that you just gonna love. That's the gist of these games. And if I'm recommending the Trails of Cold Steel series, heck, why not? Might as well recommend Trails in the Sky! Well, I've always recommended that trilogy for the PSP and PC. Well, it started on PC, but the localized version was sort of like an exclusive for the PSP. The first game came out in a printed edition by Exceed Games, and the other two were digital only. But hey, that's something. At least we got these 3 games, which are excellent RPGs. They're not high skill simulators, even though some of the characters are, well, under 16 years, under 17 years. But like I said, even with the cliches, stereotypes and all that jazz, don't let that turn you off, because the script behind these games, my god, there's a huge, very well researched and political plot, very well written political plot behind these games. I am not sure about the Trails of Cold Steel series because I have yet to play them more, but the Trails in the Sky series, wow, my respect goes absolutely to these people. So if you want a good, solid story, not too deep and complicated, but good enough, with charismatic characters and a great cast of characters, good gameplay mechanics, easy to get into. This is one of the easiest RPGs to get into. And it's not hard at all. It's not an easy RPG either, but it's hard. I mean, the balance is there. And the story is great, the characters are great. I mean, I just can't stress out enough how good the Trails of the Sky series is. It is one of the best for the PSP, and these are games that are underrated, and I think everybody should play them because they're just so balanced, they're just so good, and they're already started to be considered as classics. Oh yeah. Number 4, well, this is one of the most heavily recommended games in my channel, and that is Radiant Historia. Yes, there's the DS version, cheap. Actually, this is a sealed copy, but this game is cheap right now. It's around $25, and this is cheap as well, maybe $30. So get them while you still can, because these are going to become anytime soon hidden gems, and well, I'm a little sad about that. I hope thanks to videos like this, to channels like mine, these games never become hidden gems, because there's nothing wrong about hidden gems, but these are not meant to be that. This game, Raiden Historia, is amazing. It's a masterpiece. I have praised this game a million times in my channel already. I love the battle system, I love the story, the characters. There's just every single aspect your average player needs to get into RPGs of any kind. And Raiden Historia has all of them. It's a great game, it's balanced, the story, like I said, is tremendously good, the characters are great, and well, I think if you like Chrono Trigger, people often compare this game to Chrono Trigger, and I shouldn't be, because apart from the time travel thing in this game, there's nothing remotely close that resembled Chrono Trigger. But the time travel, yeah, I mean, how many games that are not futuristic have that time travel feature in a game, in an RPG? That's why the comparison. But if people are going to say that this game is just as good as Chrono Trigger, even better in my opinion, I agree with all of them. It's a great game, you should get into it, everybody should play it, because it just has to become, thanks to us, a great true classic like any other classic out there. Next is a game, it's Eternal Sonata for the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, but there's a catch. There's a catch. The Xbox 360 version is the easy version. The PS3 version is the hard version. So yes, I included this game on the list precisely because of that. If this game was only for the Xbox 360, I wouldn't be recommending it, because yes, it's very easy. It's not that easy, but it's easy nonetheless. And if there was only the PS3 version available, I wouldn't recommend it either, because well, the PS3, believe it or not, has some really tough boss battles. It's a really hard game. So the balance, which is the core word in this video, is just not there. However, there's two versions. So if you're into easy games, if you want to get into RPGs and are looking for something easy, you don't like really hard RPGs, then play the Xbox 360 version. But if you're looking for something complicated, something hard, a good challenge, a very decent challenge, then play the PS3 version. Thankfully, both versions are great. This is a beautiful game. I can't believe how great it is, how underrated it is. It's not a hidden gem, it's pretty well known, but I rarely see people recommending it. I mean, the story is great, the music is great. The music, I mean, come on, this is based on the life of Frédéric Chopin. This is classic music, and it also has a soundtrack from legendary music director Motoi Sakuraba. So I don't see any reason why you shouldn't play this game. It's a masterpiece! Eternal Sonata, PS3 version. I don't own the Xbox 360 version, but if you're looking for easy mode, Xbox 360. If you're looking for hard mode, PS3 version. Whatever the case, both versions are great. My last two on this list. You know how everybody's always recommending you Suikoden 2? Yes, everybody, it is considered as one of the best JRPGs of all time, not only for the PlayStation 1. Suikoden 2 is, wow, a masterpiece, a great game, everybody recommends it, everybody should play it. Yeah, we all know that. Well, I think everybody already played that game. But what about Suikoden 5? Oh yeah, this is my favorite Suikoden ever, and I really gave it some thought because this game has a sort of like a slow beginning. I mean, it takes a while to really start to get into the climax, but once it gets into the climax, my god, this, and hate me for saying this if you want, this game is better than Suikoden 2. This is a great game, and I think people, other YouTubers, other RP gamers are starting to recommend this game, to heavily do it. And that's cool because I really think it's on par with Suikoden 2. In my personal opinion, it's better. And I can't believe this game is so goddamn great. I mean, the others are great. The first Suikoden is great, but it's a very short RPG. The third Suikoden, it's great. It's one of my favorites as well, but I think the graphics and the gameplay mechanics themselves are a little outdated. And Suikoden 4, that's the black sheep of the family. I mean, it's a great game, but a lot of people hate it. But Suikoden 5, man, you just can't not play this game. It's a masterpiece. It's a great RPG. I mean, it's no wonder why most people consider this to be the second best Suikoden ever, if not the best, like me. In Suikoden 5, that's a great game. Everybody should play it, including you. Oh yeah. My number one. Believe it or not, this was the hardest to get into this list. I really put some thought into this game. I considered it at first and I said, no, I mean, I just can't. It's one of my favorite video games of all time, not my favorite RPGs of all time, among my favorite video games of all genres of all time. And in the end, I decided to include it because I thought about it and it belongs to a very unknown franchise that doesn't deserve to be unknown because all of its games are just great. They're very good. But some of the titles in that series are really hard. They're hard to get into. But Growlancer 5 Heritage of War is not that hard to get into. This game is another masterpiece in my opinion. This is great. One of the most heavily underrated JRPGs of all time. It's a strategy RPG, not tactical like in Squares, like in Final Fantasy Tactics. No, this is a real-time strategy RPG, and it's amazing because there's just a whole lot of things to do in this game. It's not just playing a strategy game, plain and simple. No, not exactly a world simulator or open world. No, nothing like that. But there's just a lot of things to do and a lot of variety. I mean, I think that's one of the key words nowadays when it comes to JRPGs for being successful. They need variety, and this game has it. There's a lot of stories involved. You get to play as some characters first, then some other characters for the second part, then some other characters for the third part, and then finally the main story starts revolving around the main characters, and that's amazing because ever since the first battles in the first route of this game, you kind of get used to it. I mean, the other Growlancer series, they're a little hard to get into because they're hard games, specifically the fourth one for the PSP. That's a really hard game. I can't include a game like that on this list because they're just for being brutally hard, they're going to push a lot of people away, turn a lot of people away. But Growlancer 5, man, that's a really solid game with great balance. The challenge is there. Yes, there are some tough missions in the game, really hard, but by the time you get to those missions, you already used the battle system, you already conquered the battle system, you know what to do and what not to do in these battles, and it's just so amazing. I can't believe this game is so underrated and unknown. I mean, it's a Growlancer title, and these are the same people. The people who made these games are the same people who made the Devil Survivor games. Yes, they're really hard games as well, but Shin Megami Tensei, that's a real big name out there. So the people who made those games also made this. So why not give this game a chance? This is one of the best in the entire list. The best, in my opinion. And I think it's a game that everybody should play. And that concludes this video, my friends. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you really follow these recommendations because we can't allow these games to become hidden gems. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with being a hidden gem, but the developers, the people who made these games, they never want their games to be hidden gems. And Growlancer 5, that is a really hidden gem. Let's make this game stop being a hidden gem and become something mainstream, something successful, something deserving of the word classic. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends. See you next time.